We got some breaking news out of the NBA. Suns have fired Frank Vogel after just one season in Phoenix. He led the Suns to the 6th seed in the West before being swept in the first round by the Timberwolves. Suns had the 3rd highest payroll in the league this year. Didn't translate into postseason success. Phoenix will now be hiring a 3rd coach in 3 years after Vogel's departure.
There goes another head coach in the NBA. Welcome to the King's Court Thursday, May 9th. Happy to have you, Ryan, in Sacktown here. We've got a full show as always. Your calls, welcome to Open Phones. We will break format at any time to have you on the show, whatever you want to talk about. NBA basketball coming up tonight. NBA basketball, playoff basketball last night that we can talk about. The Knicks take a 2-0 lead over the Pacers. What were your thoughts on that game? Certainly the breaking news, Frank Vogel is out as coach in Phoenix. Not a huge surprise there. But the big thing that is hanging there, is this a reset for Phoenix? What's Phoenix going to do? 3rd highest payroll in the NBA. Also, we're going to talk about the Kings payroll. We've talked a lot about their salary cap number. We've talked about the new CBA, but what are the guys making this year? I know some of you know that, but I think we need to lay that out because we're always talking, well, Harrison Barnes, we could trade him, right? Kevin Huerter, we can trade him, right? I don't know. Those numbers are pretty stiff coming off of the questions, at least with Kevin with the shoulder injury and such. But we can get into that as well. I've got a ton of show for you. I want to go over the rest of the free agents that we didn't talk about yesterday. What are some free agents that you might be thinking of that have not come up? Also, the NBA comes down on Patrick Beverley. 4 games for throwing a basketball at a fan, battery on a fan with an object, I guess. Okay, Adam. But let's get to a couple things. Let's do some housekeeping out of the way. The QR code, actually, I always go this arm. It's this arm above my shoulder. That is new. So we are accepting channel donations via Venmo. Obviously, what we make goes back into our operating costs and goes into the channel, getting better guests. I mean, obviously, Jerry Reynolds, the best guest ever, but we want to keep growing the show. So donations are not necessary. If you feel so inclined, they are very much appreciated. That link is also in the chat as well. And if you'd like to call the show, the link is in the chat as well. In fact, I will put that back in there one more time for you. And we will get to your comments as well. We've got a lot going today. I am really happy all of you are here. The King's Court has been a fun place to be. And by the way, tonight, I am going to be recording a pretty cool podcast that's either going to get released on Friday or I may release it over the weekend. If any of you are familiar, and I want to say something really quick right off the top, because I know we've gotten some feedback about this. I am not Jim Rome. So if my playing a couple of his sound drops has offended anybody, I appreciate the feedback. I want to be my own person. I am my own person. It's just we've got a mixed audience here. So there are a decent amount of clones, whether you know it or not, that embed themselves into this show. They might be or might not be commenting much, but I will take note of that. We will do better at that. But crossing back over to the Jim Rome realm really quick, if any of you are familiar with the show, you know my man V in the Fee. He is a massive Lakers fan. He has been, as a Lakers fan, through it all, and he's been through 02, just like we did. And so the question that him and I are going to tackle is, are the Kings and the Lakers even a rivalry anymore? We're going to talk about some of the high moments, the low moments, the differences between the teams. V does not do very many appearances, so that is going to be a pretty cool podcast that we will be releasing probably this weekend, but I'm recording it tonight with him. So first, let's get to the comments. Karen, welcome in. Oh boy, I'm Kings starving. We got plenty of Kings content for you, Karen. And if you missed yesterday's show, we did the passer pick segment with free agents, and there was a ton of talk about De'Aaron Fox. That's the name that seems to come up a lot in the Kings court. And I know you'll kind of put that on me. I get it, because I'm sometimes hard on De'Aaron, but De'Aaron's a star. Do you guys not see? We've seen so much from him, but do you not see the additional potential that he could unlock? So I just want to see that. Walt, what's up, buddy? Thank you for being here. Hello, Roberto. What's up? Patriots coach complaining about small markets not getting a fair deal from the officials. Go see 2002, dude. I had somebody, Roberto, approach me the other day about the 2002 series. And first off, the big misconception is that Donaghy was involved in it, right? Tim Donaghy was not involved in that series, but they're like, what are you talking about? Like, they've totally forgot about game 6. Look, game 7, King's fault. You put yourself in that position. That's what happens. They missed 14 free throws. You can't give a championship team like the Lakers any bit of doorway to walk through, and the Kings gave them just a crack to get to overtime, and that was the end of that. But game 6, Roberto, my goodness, that forearm to Mike Bibby's chin from Kobe has not aged well. That is just unexplainable. But yeah, we're going to get to that as well. I've got a segment on Rick Carlisle. He got ejected at the end of the game last night, and the Pacers have filed a formal complaint with the NBA for 78 different plays between game 1 and game 2 that they feel the officials have missed. Walt hopping back in. The Suns have no facilitator since Paul was traded. We said that right off the bat. Who was going to be the facilitator? A lot of people said that it was going to be Booker. No, Booker is a scoring point guard. Well, Durant, he kind of blends in. He likes to distribute. No, if you got Booker and you've got Durant, Durant has to be a scorer. So yes, that definitely 100% hurt them. BJ, welcome in. Happy to have you here. Hello, at work. Just saw the notification. How's everything going? Well, I appreciate that you got your notifications on. Give us a thumbs up if you like the show. We would appreciate that. If you're watching on X, you're more than welcome to comment as well. And again, phone calls. You guys can call. You don't have to be on camera to do that. You can leave your comments. We will get to them. I'm happy everybody's here as we ramp up on a Thursday. No, they never were. The Kings. Now, this is interesting, Karen. The Kings never play dirty. They don't. You're right, Karen. And do I want the Kings to be the dirty team? No. But do I want a little bit of, that inside basketball that Jerry Reynolds and I talked about Tuesday, manipulation in terms of your moves, getting to your spots? There's these little magic tricks, especially the guards. The guards are so good with it. Look at Jalen Brunson. Look at SGA. Watch what they do. I would love to see De'Aaron add a little bit into his game with that. But you know who does have a little bulldog in him? Trey Lyles. Trey Lyles has got that streak ever since he stood up to Lopez last season. And I think he got hurt on that play too, when he got shoved into the scorer's table and kind of bent back. But that's besides the point. Trey's got a little bit of that in him. Now, I don't want the Kings to be a dirty team, but you got to have a little attitude. There is none. BJ, yes, indeed. Appreciate the thumbs up. Oh, my gosh. As I was saying, clones coming in. This is where I got the QCon code for Jim Boy's Tacos, 50% off special. I don't know. Currently, Jim Boy's Tacos, not a sponsor. Haunted Horse, maybe you got something from Jim Boy's in the King's Court. Did you get something, Haunted Horse? I've been waiting on that. You should have got something. Let's see. Jim Boy's best fast food in Sac. Are we going to do this? All right, let's open it up. What is the best fast food in Sac? And Chipotle does not count. Okay. Anything that's fast casual does not count. I'm talking In-N-Out is fringe. I'm going to give In-N-Out a pass on fast food because it's not really fast because it's really busy all the time, but that's not their fault. So, what is the go to? You guys tell me. Magic is a W. Hell yes. Look at now the clones are taking over. Mount Rushmore of Sacramento fast food. You know what? There is something to that. They were the pioneers of, and by the way, I want to give Bennett some love before I talk about any other restaurants here at the King's Court. In fact, we have not talked Bennett's in a minute. And by the way, do you all know what it is? It is brunch season, right, Mike Breen? Bang! Bang! Damn right, Mike. Check out Bennett'sRestaurants.com. You can see all 3 different locations that they have. And by the way, Mother's Day coming up. Have you thought about what you're going to do for mom? Maybe if you're lucky, you can go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com, get a reservation still for Mother's Day. I would guess those are going to be pretty tight about right now, but who knows? If you tell them that you heard about Bennett's on the King's Court, or if you don't like that, Brian and the team might be able to squeeze you in. But also, don't forget about their happy hour. They've got a great Monday dining special, 2 entrees, bottle of wine, $65. What? So make sure you give Bennett's as much love as they have given the King's Court. And if you don't like that, all of you have been great to them. Bennett's West Side Grill in Rockland. And yes, that is the 3rd location that last season we were talking about all the time. Okay, now we can formally, and Haunted Horse, yes, I left it. Haunted Horse is in the business, y'all. He is in the business, so he gets the things you're supposed to do, not to do in live reads. I left a comment up during the live read. That was bad form, so I'm going to hear about that from him. But I think he's right. I think you do have to put Jim Boys on the Mount Rushmore in Sac. And I know it's greasy. You have to say it's greasy right off the bat. But there's something about those taco shells with the Parmesan cheese. It's just different. In fact, I thought like that is how you properly make a taco. So when I met my wife, who is Hispanic, and I made her Mexican food for the first time, I tried to do those shells and she's like, what the hell is this? And then I committed the biggest sin of all. I put the tortillas before I fried them in the microwave. And I thought she was going to break up with me on the spot. I had no idea what a comal is. I think now we own like 4 of them. So I've caught up there. But yes, Jim Boys, the rolled tacos, do they still have the cheeseburger taco? The cheeseburger taco was much different. Haunted Horse. Well, Haunted Horse, here's the thing, dude. You're a little biased. Can we say that? You are, I'm not going to say the #1 fan of Jim Boys, but you are a big, wait, no, you are the #1 fan of Jim Boys, I think. Bennett's is the best for sit-down food, no doubt. It's amazing, and it's affordable. I've had so many people come to me like, we just can't afford to go there. That's why I said go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com, see their specials and even their entrees, their lunch stuff. It's not as bad as you think. And by the way, if you think you're getting out of the McDonald's drive-thru for like under $15, you're not. If you're getting like a meal, if you're doing what used to be the dollar menu, which is now the, I don't know, $4.50 menu, yeah, maybe you can get out a little bit cheaper. Heard the ribs at Bennett's are really good. They're excellent. I actually have a really funny story about the ribs there. They have a ribs and chicken dish, and Grant and I, maybe some of you that go way back on this channel, we met a consultant about some IT, not necessarily IT. It was more YouTube, some specialized things, growing the channel, whatnot. And he ordered, and you guys know how it is, business lunch, usually you're going to be careful about what you order because you don't want to be, kind of the first 8 rules are in effect. You don't want to be eating stuff with your hands usually. Nah, he threw caution to the wind. He was just like,
I'm the boogeyman, and I'm coming to get you.
Yeah, that's what he said to the chicken and ribs dish, and he got down. There was barbecue sauce everywhere, but it looked so good. So yes, Those are very good. You named your firstborn Jim. Do I have to call BS on that? Did you really, BJ Sal? Did you? Let me know. Let me know. Let's talk about Frank Vogel really quick. Out again in Phoenix. Well, if there's one thing that's pretty certain, Frank Vogel ain't going back to LA. We know that much. And also, can we say that Frank Vogel doesn't really know how to handle stars? Is that a fair statement? But let's also kind of balance that statement out. Let's go on the other side of the teeter totter. I don't think many coaches in the NBA know how to handle stars. And Frank Vogel, he was given two very good pieces and nothing else. You get Bradley Beal, who, injury prone, he's not playing every day. The Suns never had, in my opinion, a good, solid, long stretch for those guys when Beal came on to get used to playing together. And that was going to be a whole different ball game when you match those three guys up. And by the way, the days of the super teams are gone. It's just not happening anymore, in my opinion, with the new CBA. It's all about player development, and we have been ahead of the curve on that story here on the Kings court. And if you don't like that with the Kings and Keon and what they're doing down there, we had a player feature on Jalen Slauson last week. If you missed it, go back and listen to it. There's some good video on that as well. So player development's big, but what are you going to do with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker? You have nothing else around you for the most part. I get you have Grayson Allen. Man, he can shoot the hell out of the ball. Jerry Reynolds loves Grayson Allen, by the way. I don't know that I can have conversation off the air with Jerry that, if we're talking basketball, that Grayson Allen doesn't come up. He is one of his favorites, and Grayson Allen would look good in a Kings uniform. He would fit into that formula if they want to get some extra firepower on offense. But getting back to Phoenix, Frank Vogel was behind the 8 ball from the beginning. They had no depth. The Phoenix Suns tried to scramble at the trade deadline, bringing in Royce O'Neal. They signed Isaiah Thomas, IT, one of Grant's favorite players of all time in Sacramento, but he never really got on the court. So this, as you're seeing the playoffs play out, the playoffs are about playmaking, defense, and depth. Those are the three big things. And the Knicks are kind of the anomaly there because they're playing such a short lineup. But my goodness, are they getting production from the guys that Dante DiVincenzo? Let's start with him. Didn't do much here in Sacramento. In fact, he told his agent, get me the hell out of Sacramento. He goes to Golden State, doesn't do bad, doesn't do great, but guess what? You get him in a new system that's more familiar to him. Not every player can play for Tibbs, but you've got 3 guys on that New York Knicks team that all played at Villanova, and there's something to be said about that. There is a brand of East Coast basketball. And Dante DiVincenzo, my goodness, what the heck's going on with him this year? I mean, you could even throw in, he is just as important, almost as important as Hartenstein, and at times even Brunson, because they turn to Dante when they need a bucket. And then you've got OG on the side. Both OG and DiVincenzo give you 28 last night. So getting back to Vogel, he just didn't have that depth. So what are you going to do? And what are the Suns going to do? Is Kevin Durant going to be available? Is Devin Booker going to be available? Are the Suns going to be looking to get draft capital to rebuild? Who knows? We'll see. But another head coaching job is available in the West. And at this time, even though the Suns made the playoffs and the Kings did not, I actually think the Kings on paper, as we sit today, are better than the Phoenix Suns. I know some of you may disagree with me, but I do. Let's see. Speaking of playing dirty, bringing Grayson Allen to trip people. Yeah, he's been known to do that since college. Karen, what happened to IT? Well, IT, he went to Karen, do you remember his run in Boston? It was magical, right? IT was on the verge of possibly getting a max contract. There was that talk. Like, is IT a max guy? And you remember he went through the tragic passing of his sister I believe it was during the playoffs or towards the tail end of the season, and it kept playing, and so he doesn't get the contract, right? And he bounces around, has some injuries, and really kind of falls out of the NBA. And he was signed to Utah's G League team earlier, or I would say earlier in the G League season or late in the G League season, but earlier this season for the NBA. Gotcha. Awesome. And he was balling in the G League. Phoenix needed some depth. Phoenix gave him a 10-day contract. And then they signed him for the rest of the season. So I think it was a little bit of a in case of an emergency, hit IT pretty much. And that's true in the workplace. I didn't mean to make that up, but that's pretty funny. So that's the story of IT. Is his career over? I don't know. Is there a spot for him? Probably on an NBA team. Yeah. But I think the days of IT playing significant minutes or being a featured player on a team, they have passed. But to do what he did, I mean, think about that draft class for the Sacramento Kings. IT was the dude for the Kings in that draft class. I'll never forget that it was the first game back at Arco Arena after the Kings permanently were staying, after Vivek bought the team. And the Kings, I believe they were playing the Denver Nuggets that night. The Kings won that game, but then the next night, it was either the next night or the night after, they had another home game, and IT had one of the best games I have ever seen. He was spinning around, making amazing passes. The crowd was on fire. So when I think about IT, that is the game I think of. It was a pretty special game for him. So back to Phoenix. It's rebuild time, in my opinion, and let the conversation start. Kevin Durant. Could he come to Sacramento? I don't know. We've been tossing around some very, very big names, and Phoenix is going to want some loot for Kevin Durant. But if I'm looking at the Suns roster, and I'm just going to pose this question to you straight up, would you trade De'Aaron Fox for Devin Booker? Waiting. Would you trade De'Aaron Fox for Devin Booker? Think about that one for a minute. Want to pose that to you. Let's talk about the Kings payroll really quick. So we've talked about what they have to play with in this offseason. They've got the MLE, which is about 12.9, and they've got what they can to. Haunted Horse says absolutely he would do that. Yeah, I'm still kicking that around in the old cabeza. It's appealing. It's appealing, but I would say Fox is probably more durable than Booker, but Booker's certainly more explosive in terms of scoring. I don't know. This is what the offseason's for. It's for these fun conversations, throwing ideas out, just seeing what sticks against the wall. Maybe we find something. But the Kings, the cap is supposed to be around 140, or the Kings have a payroll right around, I should say 151 million is what the projection is for next season. So you've got De'Aaron Fox coming back next season. He's making $34.8 million. Not bad. That's not bad at all. Now, Sabonis, $41.8 million. Now, we had the discussion yesterday. Dirk had a tremendous telephone call in defense. Booker, I'm afraid. Yeah, I know it is a little bit scary, but De'Aaron, the ankles, you got to consider that too. But then he was pretty, when I thought, or he sprained his ankle at the end of the season. I mean, he sprained his ankle and he kept powering through. So that impressed the hell out of me because De'Aaron's had ankle problems in the past. I think you guys remember when he rolled out with the Curry shoes, there was some, I don't want to say backlash, but a little bit of pushback because he was wearing lows for his shoe choice. You know, the guy that was notorious for that. Yeah, he's over there on the piano. That would be Mr. Mike Bibby. Bibby was a guy that only liked the lows. You better have damn good ankles and damn good ankle braces if you're going to wear lows in the NBA these days. De'Aaron made the switch after the ankle sprain. Not saying that had anything to do with it, but glad that he was able to get that figured out, because had the Kings missed De'Aaron and even Domas, he took a really awkward step at the end of the season. And then there was a secondary sprain where the foot went in instead of going out. Anytime you see the ankle or the foot go in, you have to immediately start thinking about high ankle sprain, and not just a regular ankle sprain. Anybody that is an NFL fan here knows high ankle sprains take much longer and they are way more finicky. So going back to Dirk's call yesterday, talking about you got to give De'Aaron a fair shake. And the question I posed to the group, and I've said all along, my theme for the Kings offseason is get comfortable being uncomfortable. So that means we are going to have some uncomfortable conversations here in the Kings court. I am going to pose scenarios. I'm going to pose transactions to you, because whichever way you want to cut it, the bottom line is this: the Sacramento Kings have to get considerably better this offseason to keep pace with some of the teams that have shown out in the Western Conference. Raise your hand if you had Minnesota on your bingo card to possibly come out of the Western Conference at the beginning of the season. I sure as heck did not. I know some people have been believers in them, not me, but they are showing us differently. And I think with Ant, we're going to be talking about him for a really, really long time. Some of you disagree with me on that. Let's hook back up with the chat really quick. Steely Beats, Booker. All right, there you go. Steely Beats jumping back in. Fox has been a big disappointment, in my opinion. All right. And why is that? Is it performance or consistency? And I know those two aren't necessarily mutually exclusive. Karen, Bibby's shoes were eye-catching. Yeah, Mike was part of the Jordan brand. So the way it worked is any pair of J's that Mike wanted in Kings colors, alternate colors, whatever he wanted, he got in player exclusive. So he had his TD on there. He had his bib 10, usually towards the top of the shoe. You might be asking why I know so much about that. That's because I had so many pairs of them. I used to work out with Mike in the summers when I was in college, when we all worked out with Al Biacani, who was the King's strength and conditioning coach. And then also I would work Mike's basketball camps, helped organize those with some of the other guys in his crew and Team Dime. So we spent some time together, and you know what? I saw some pretty damn cool shoes. The one shoe. So I was never, here's the thing, Karen, I was never ballsy enough to ask Mike for the pair that I always wanted. So since we're sparking up the fast food debate and we're asking what is the Mount Rushmore of fast food in Sacramento, let's spark up the Jordan debate too. What's the best pair of J's? They've got to be a featured J, not a side off. Either the ones, the twos. You get what I'm saying. So Mike, towards the end of the run here in Sacramento, started wearing the low cut 13s in white and purple. And I went gaga over those shoes. The 13s were my favorite pair of Jordans of all time, probably followed closely by the cement 3s. I want to say probably the cement 3s. But Mike would just put in the, not even put in orders, but like with the camps. Okay, I'm gonna peel back the curtain a little bit. A lot of the stuff, and maybe I still have some stuff. I'll look for it. Maybe I'll bring it onto the King's Court. But the shirts for the camps, the giveaways, which usually were shoes, all of that was donated by Jordan or provided by Jordan. So you had Jordan brand camp shirts. And then the contests at the end of each day, the prizes would be a pair of Jordans from Mike. So the last day of camp, Mike would always show up with just a car full of Jordans. And so I would get some then for sure, and I got some on the side, but I never asked for those 13s. I kind of asked, his brothers Hank and Dane. I asked one of them. I kind of dropped a little seed. I was like, I'm not asking for a pair of shoes. I want you to know that. I mean, hopefully you guys know that by now. I've been around you for like 2 years. Sometimes we go to Cheesecake Factory, and Mike brings his own silverware and his own water, but whatever. I'm not going to get into all that. But, like if Mike could just get me those 13s and we can just keep this between us, I'll pay whatever I need to pay. Just tell me. Just tell me, you know what? I'll get a loan from my parents. I'll sell my car, whatever it's going to be. Just let me get that pair of 13s. Yeah, it didn't happen. And I didn't really do it that smoothly, nor did I want to ask. That's not what those relationships are about. But getting back to the point, his shoes were sick. They were bangers. Steeler or Steely Bates. Nope. Not sure what that is. Consistency. Yes, indeed. Consistency has to be better from De'Aaron. That's been Grant's biggest bugaboo with him. So getting back to, let's see. I have giant feet too. Karen, you have giant feet. Okay, no worries. How big are your feet, Karen? If you have giant feet, there are some pretty cool places you can go to get very nice shoes that are very cheap. And also, by the way, any of you young people that might be listening to this, any parents of young people that might be listening to this, if your kids or Karen, I'm not trying to paint you into a corner and make a joke and say you have massive feet, but if somebody in your family or a child in your family is into like the 16s, 17s, 18s, they've got massive feet, don't be shy about hitting up a player. Send them a letter, send them a tweet, send them an email. Hell, send a letter to the Kings and their athletic training staff. Do you know how, or their equipment managers, do you know how many pairs of shoes those players go through every single year? Did you know there's players that change their shoes at halftime sometimes every single game because of superstition, because of whatever? I have known players for the Kings, no names mentioned, that will change their jerseys at halftime because they don't like that wet feeling on their back. So, what I'm trying to say, Karen, is the Kings will usually do stuff for people if they've got extra stuff laying. Or I shouldn't say will usually. I have seen athletes here in Sacramento. I have seen the Kings help people out in those situations because if you have massive feet, there's not really a place you can turn. There's not. So let's see. John Finch. Yeah, I bet you did, dude. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that there because I know there's clones in here and that could take the show completely off track. But dude, you're lucky that that's all you had to do. That was some scary stuff, John. All right, jumping back to the Kings' salaries. The conversation that we had yesterday was if you've got to get comfortable being uncomfortable, which of the big three do you think would be the one you want to part with? Okay. So Dirk's point was De'Aaron Fox has never gotten a fair shake here in Sacramento. He's never had the right pieces around him. Well, I've thought about it overnight, and I do agree with Dirk, but when you're supposed to be a superstar, when you are a max player, and I get a max player in a small market is a little bit different, aren't you supposed to put the team on your back, regardless of what they put around you? And if you look at stars in the past that have been in Sacramento, with the exception of the best teams that we've ever talked about, the 2001, 2002 Sacramento Kings team, when you've had bona fide stars, Mitch Richmond, DeMarcus Cousins, the Kings have never traditionally built around those players or put stars around those players. So I don't think it's fair to say De'Aaron hasn't gotten a fair shake. I think De'Aaron's gotten as fair of a shake as any other max player has gotten here in Sacramento. But I think De'Aaron is a little bit different. And if there is a player, Grant and I had this conversation 2 nights ago or 2 or 3 nights ago on if you don't like that, if there is a player that Sacramento, let's say the most talented, and this is how Boogie came up, like an Anthony Edwards, what he's looking to grow into. If Sacramento had a player like that, how does it change things? And we had a really hard time coming up with anybody. And we talked about Chris Webber, we talked about Boogie, and Boogie was probably the closest. Mitch Richmond, we talked about. Sacramento has never had that guy, that LeBron James, that Kevin Durant. Just never had him. They've never had that guy that doesn't only change the franchise while they're playing on the court, but they change the franchise as a whole in the future. They set a standard for the franchise. So that's the only thing I wanted to add to yesterday's conversation. But going back to those big three, De'Aaron Fox, $34.8 million next year on the books. Sabonis, $41.8 million. And then obviously Keegan Murray, he is still on his rookie deal, and you know he's going to be pushing for an extension. What do you guys think Keegan's making? Put your guesses in there. Somebody probably knows. El Cap, the 11s are your favorites. Thought they looked cool when I was younger. The 11s are still mega popular. Mega popular. The Space Jams, the Cool Grays. You guys remember? Do you remember this name? Wesley Stokes. I'm gonna do a deep pull here on the Kings Court. He was a point guard who played for Missouri, and he was a littler guy, but he had the really cool wavy hair that went straight up, kind of like Carlito from the WWE. Well, Wes transferred to SDSU. When I was at SDSU, we were at Colorado State, and he had been eyeing my 11s for probably 2 or 3 weeks. In fact, I caught him wearing my black and red 11s one time during that season. And he asked, can I wear them for tonight's game? Because it's on ESPN2. I'm like, all right, Wes, you could wear them. Well, guess what happens? Wes, has one of his better games. We win. And by the way, I don't dress, or I didn't get to dress. I was a member of the scout team, and then I helped out however I could. I actually was scout team for the girls team as well, and student assistant, helped the coaching staff. I just immersed myself in the program, but I got to travel, so that was really cool. But I never saw my Jordan 11s again after that. Wes just took them, and I knew that was what's going to happen because he's so superstitious. Karen, no, I don't think it was Peja. Peja was great, but he definitely, I mean, do we talk about Peja the way that we talk about like a Kevin Durant, the way we talk about a Kevin Garnett, a Paul Pierce? I don't think we do. Peja still is an amazing piece, and I was so happy for him to get a championship with the Dallas Mavericks. Let's see, John, I'm sure you did a great job, Ryan. John, you know what? I did what I could. Grant had me on his podcast 2 years ago, maybe longer than 2 years ago. And what happened was, and John's going to know this story, the Listen App group, the Grant Napier OGs, we would have shows, I don't know what, John, 4 or 5 days a week on Listen App. And it's the guys that have been listening to Grant for a while. And I would say a lot of the same prototypical calls. And I don't mean that with any disrespect, but just kind of the same calls Grant would get as if he was on the air. Still, like if he was doing a show at a radio station, calls that were appropriate for the FCC, calls that went in line with Grant's brand. Because you guys remember Grant's brand was, he's going to bite your head off. You never know when he's going to explode. He's always got a rant waiting, and you're looking, John's saying almost every day. Exactly. You're looking for that reaction from Grant. How many times have Grant and I come on here on If You Don't Like That after a Kings game? If we are anywhere in the November, December, maybe even January months, there is not a show that goes by that is not asking for one of Grant's Christmas rants, because it was one of his most popular ones. It was a great rant, but they didn't always market the other side of them. And so I thought, well, maybe we can pull it out of him. And so I started, instead of, challenging his sports knowledge, I started challenging his memories and his experiences. And we did a segment where I gave him a list of names and I wanted him to say or explain what those people or things meant to him in one word. And so it was a really cool thing. It showed a different side of Grant. It caught some steam, and it's kind of helped as we've rolled into. If you don't like that, you guys sometimes get to see a different side of Grant with the stories and whatnot. But part of that, when he had me on his podcast, he flipped the script on me and he said, Ryan in Sacktown, how would you describe yourself in one word? And the word was Rudy. That is my embodiment. That is my story. I'm Rudy, and I'd never played at Notre Dame. I didn't get to run out of the tunnel, but that was my experience, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. I absolutely value it. El Cap, Fox checked out this year, or not motivated. Something was off, but that's the problem, Cap. We don't know what was off. I mean, you've heard Reese and reports that De'Aaron had to take care of the baby. And I mean, those are all normal life parenting things. I don't think it factors into it. And even if he was doing that, I mean, these guys' schedules are tough. Don't get me wrong. When you're traveling and you're away from your family, and then you have to come back from a long road trip, and it's not just coming back and getting right for the next home game. It's also being super dad or super husband and making up for that time that you've missed because you've been gone for 7, 8, 9 days. That takes a toll. But when these guys get into the grind of the routine of an NBA season, and that's the key, routine. If you didn't know it, NBA players are freaking habits of routine. If you break their routines, you might get your head bitten off. And the routine during the season, while still strenuous, there's enough time in there to recover from a couple of hours missed sleep at night. I mean, a lot of guys actually take naps before every single game. In fact, some of your Kings players, when the Kings used to be at Arco Arena, you remember the apartment complex that got built really close to Arco, where you could literally walk across the parking lot and be at the arena? There were Kings that shared apartments there where the only time they were in those apartments were to nap before the games. Like, that was it. It was a nap spot. So that way they didn't have to worry about traffic coming back and forth. So creatures of habit, definitely. I think it was, to me, there is some type, and this is strictly my opinion. I want to be crystal clear. This is my opinion. There is no reporting here. This is not sourced. There was some type of internal conflict this year with the Kings. There was growing pains. Those are to be expected, right? You run it back with another group of guys. They're like brothers. Do you fight with your brothers and sisters? Yes, you do sometimes, right? But you figure it out. But this year it took a different turn, and you line that up with De'Aaron not talking to the media for, what was it, close to 16 days, which coincided with a road trip that was on the East Coast. So a lot of the Sacramento contingent of the media was not there at the games and asking questions afterwards. But I just don't know. I don't know if it's a Coach Brown thing. I don't know if it's a philosophy thing. One thing I keep hammering on here, and I've hammered this a lot, El Cap, is the fact that Mike Brown openly said the guys were doing the play calling this year. Mike Brown was very hands off, which was the complete opposite from the year before. So I've kind of used the example of, if you got your group of 5 guys that you like to play pickup with, and each other's kind of roles, and what's going to annoy you about, some of the guys you play with. There's always that ball hog, right? Or if you're trying to get matched up on a team at a gym where you're doing an open run, you're going to run into gym guy that's dressed to the T's, got his Jordan 11s on, Got the latest freaking Durant gear, just balling out, right? But can't play a lick of basketball. You're going to run into those guys, and sometimes you get frustrated, right? Conversely, sometimes you have players that feel like they're not being included in the game. Well, we can definitely connect these dots. Harrison Barnes fell off the map at times this season. I mean, he would have games where in the first half he might have one shot attempt, two shot attempts. Keegan Murray, same thing. The times Keegan got going was the times that Mike Brown started calling plays directly at the start of games. And you could tell when that was happening because look at the Warriors game, the play-in game. It was so obvious, right? So what if the players are calling the plays? What if Keegan is not getting shots? What if Harrison's not getting shots? Well, they're professionals. They should demand the ball, right? There's part of that too, but also, I mean, they're not the leaders of the team. I think Keegan's the leader of the defense. There's no doubt about that. But could you see how tension could form there? Like, if you feel like you could help the team and you're kind of being frozen out of the offense, I mean, that is just what I'm saying or I'm seeing with my eyes from years of playing basketball, from years of being on teams. I could see where that could cause some frustration. So I think there could be something to that. Finchy doing well. Oh, he's talking with Baki. Baki and Finchy always chop it up on the show. Karen, when I work out, I get sleepy and nap. There you go. There you go. See, I get that bump after my walks in the morning. But you know what's funny? I used to be nap guy, Karen. I was always nap guy. And I still am to a degree, but I could lay there for like 2 hours if I wanted to. And, I'd wake up feeling kind of better, but still tired. Ever since I've changed my routine and changed my schedule, um, I'm like, if I nap, it's for 45 minutes at the most, and I feel like I just woke up in the morning. So there's a middle ground to that napping. Glad that works out. Amen, bro. Unstoppable. So the reason I wanted to share those contracts, we didn't give you Keegan's. Keegan's contract this year is $8.8 million. Oh, is it 8? Let's see. Yeah, I don't have my glasses on. $8.8 million. So if from a financial sense, if we had to put in order who would be the most desirable to other teams, I think it goes like this: Keegan Murray, De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis. And that is strictly because of the financials of it. But now, when I look at those numbers, Domas isn't going anywhere. I don't think there's another team in the NBA, unless it's another small market. Check this out. I told you what Domas makes next year. The year after that, 25-26, he's making $44.9 million. The year after that, 26-27, 46, or is that 48? $48 million. And then it jumps to $51 million in 27-28. That is a big commitment for a player like Domas. I'm fine. I agree with the Kings making that move. I don't know if I agree with them extending him when they did, right? Because they could have gotten better in free agency with some of that money that they used with his extension. But I mean, is there a team that's going to take that on? I mean, the only team that somewhat comes to mind would be like a San Antonio. And I know we've heard that name with Malik Monk too, but a Wemby and a Domas combination would work really well. And because they're complete opposites, you got the smaller guy that's the banger down low, and then you got Wemby who's 7'4" and can do whatever he wants. Pretty much whenever he wants. So it would have to be a really specialized situation like that. So I kind of drop him to the bottom. So now when we talk about getting comfortable, being uncomfortable, it comes down to two names. It's De'Aaron Fox and it's Keegan Murray. If the Kings were going to make a big shakeup, I think you got to take Domas out of there. So of those two, which way are you going? Keegan Murray is by far the more desirable player because of the contract and probably the upside. I mean, De'Aaron Fox has been in the league for 7 years now. He's going on his 8th year. Usually by your 8th year, he's made one All-Star team. He's been to the playoffs one time in 7 years. Usually you know the spots on the dog at that point, but not saying he couldn't do better. I think there is still room to improve. So I wanted to update that based off of our conversation yesterday. Yes, ching, Karen, that is a lot of money. Hey, we talked about the Knicks and the Pacers at the top. I do want to talk about what happened last night with the ref show. I mean, the refs, we've harped on it here on the King's Court. The refs have been a problem, but they're not missing 78 calls in 2 games. Stop. To me, it's more of a plea like, hey, you're letting them play a little too physical. And by the way, New York is way better at being physical than we are. So can you dial it back? The NBA has shown that they are going to, or at least up until this point, they're letting teams play. But I want to kick it to the TNT guys, the Inside the NBA crew, and also Rick Carlisle after the game last night. Here were some of their comments and thoughts on Game 2 and the officials.
We always go through the film and games where it felt like the whistles weren't balanced, and we pull the clips, and there's a way you can submit them to the NBA office. In the playoffs, when you submit things, the other team sees what you submit. And so there were 29 plays in game 1 that we thought were clearly called the wrong way. I decided not to submit them because I just felt like, we'd get a more balanced whistle tonight. It didn't feel that way. Couple examples, 5:08 of the third. The whole world knows that Halliburton's got a bad back, and Hart comes up and shoves him in the back. And it's all over Twitter right now because a few people have showed it to me. And JB DeRosa is looking right at it. You can see him. He's got vision of the play, and he shoves Tyree in the corner, and there's no whistle right in the back. And so that was shocking.
Did anybody see that play? Just out of curiosity. Hands up. Let me know in the chat. Did you see that play that Rick Carlisle's talking about? I can't play it here because of copyright. I'm in the middle there for the playoffs. I don't think it was that big of a deal. I haven't looked. It would not be in the last 2-minute report because it wasn't in the last 2 minutes. I will be interested to see how the NBA responds to this complaint from the Pacers, because they're certainly going to have to respond probably publicly the way that Rick Carlisle's blown this up. And the transparency with the officials is such a big thing these days. But I don't know. I don't think that shove was that big of a deal. I mean, I think Hallie, he's a quick player anyways, and it doesn't take much to give you a little extra push when you're going that fast. So maybe I'm underestimating what the effect of that was, but I didn't think it was as evident as the Twitter world thinks it is and Rick Carlisle thought it was. Let me know what you guys thought about it. Yeah, good point, James. The kickball was a huge call in game 1 of that series. Thank you for bringing that up. That was a big call. Let's go back to Rick Carlisle and the NBA on TNT, guys.
And there are many others, but I can promise you that we're going to submit these tonight. New York can get ready. They'll see them too. I'm always talking to our guys about not making it about the officials. But we deserve a fair shot, and it's just not, there's not a consistent balance, and that's disappointing.
Okay. So before we go any further, I want to make this point because I don't know what the guys are going to say on Inside the NBA, but Rick Carlisle does not usually do this. This is not usually his style. He is a tenured and highly respected coach in the NBA. In fact, you forget that he's coaching in the NBA. That is how well respected he is. His job is almost never in jeopardy. So for him to come out and make it about that and, put a point home, drive it home to say we are filing a complaint with that many plays and we'll await the response from the NBA. I will say this. That means the Pacers legitimately feel they are being jammed. Let's go back to Inside the NBA and Rick Carlisle.
Shaq just tapped me on the arm and said, well, I want to talk about this.
I understand that nobody in the game has been fouled more than me. But the greatest day of my life is when I called my father complaining, says I don't want to hear it. So my point is, okay, you're not getting a whistle. What you have to do as a player, one, you make them call fouls. You play in a way to where, okay, this guy fouled me. I'm gonna show you that he's fouled me, or you play through it, or you don't worry about it, because all these things come into play, and the ones that overcome these things are the ones that we know to be great.
What a point by Shaq. There's some truth to that. I think that's true. Shaq, I mean, yes, you were fouled more than anybody in the NBA, but you also probably got more whistles than anybody in the NBA. Steely Beats really quick. He's got a Fox comment, and then we'll hop back to this. I think Fox has reached his ceiling. He is who he is. He's 8 years in, 7 years in. It'll be 8 this season. I don't see him getting any better. Well, the counter to that would be, look at what he did with the 3 ball this year. He got a heck of a lot better with the 3, but I think that is a big part of the story to the season and kind of the problem with the Kings. Excuse me, guys. I drank some water, letting that pass for a second really quick. That's the problem, because the extra point that Fox gets you from beyond the arc, I think that point does not help you more than the benefits of Fox getting inside, getting to the mid-range. Look, touch in those floaters, you can't teach that. It is nearly impossible to teach somebody to have a soft touch and a soft jump shot. And what I mean by a soft jump shot, if any of you have kids that play basketball, right, and you're watching their games and they're shooting shots, or maybe it's high school, junior high, and they're clanking off the rims, coming off hard, go to a Kings game or go to a Stockton Kings game early when the guys are warming up and watch how some of the balls go through the hoop. I mean, it's like the balls barely even touch the net. So when I say softness, that's what I'm talking about. And by the way, the NBA rims, much, much different than the rims than a lot of us play on, whether it's in your driveway, your local gym. The NBA rims are so different because they're stiffer. And that changes everything. You see, when a ball hits that rim doesn't flinch. A lot of rims usually do. So that makes it all the more impressive when guys have shots that go in and out, or, it just kind of barely comes off the rim. That to me is incredible. It's one of those micro things about the game that I noticed. Now, I do think Fox can improve. Bobby Marks made the argument that this year it wasn't about players reaching their ceiling in terms of talent. It was more game management, basketball IQ. That is certainly part of it. Now, I do put some weight in the fact that De'Aaron's been here 7 years. And that's what makes the conversation hard, because isn't that kind of that time usually that Sacramento's like traditionally, and I'm talking about different ownership groups, I'm talking about different front offices, but 7 years, yeah, about Boogie, right around 7 probably. We could go Jason Williams. How many years was he here? 4 or 5. So yeah, there's a point to that. Okay, you saw it. We got that. Well, Baki, what's up? Shaq was sad last night because SGA and MVP going right to his hand. Yeah, I know. He forgot last summer, Canada versus Serbia semifinal. Baki, last summer doesn't matter, bro. I don't care that Serbia I don't even know who won that game, Baki, and I don't mean any disrespect. It's the NBA. The NBA doesn't take that stuff into account. It's what happens on the court in the NBA. Ryan, in my opinion, Halliburton can't be the number one option. He isn't that good of a scorer on a consistent basis. I pick you up there. I got you, James. I know what you meant. Not basics, basis. Yeah, he's young though. He's young. Part of the reason it's not the form of Hallie's jump shot, James. It's how long it takes him to get that jump shot off. That is the problem in the NBA. Guys with much quicker releases have problems getting shots off. So Hallie it's not a wind up, but it's certainly kind of a cock back. That's a little bit of an issue. They will get the calls on their home court. I think they will to a degree. And the Knicks will whine about them not getting them. Well, Tibbs is actually pretty good about not doing that too much with the media. Honestly, Kings can trade Fox or Murray as long as they get better. Tyrese was popular too. Yes, he was. Good point by that. El Cap, I didn't get to see the play, but I saw Shaq salty when Joker won his third MVP, third in 4 years, yo. You know what? I'm a little salty about that too. I'm not going to lie to you, because shouldn't there be, and don't tell me it's not part of the voting or the consideration, because who the hell knows what's part of the consideration by these voters these days? I mean, the individual awards have become so far leaning towards teams' accomplishments. Even the all-star selections are doing that. So the other problem, and it's not because I'm a digital guy and I'm sitting here and I'm not in a formal, station that's going out to 50,000 people. Well, I'm going out to the internet, so that's a lot of people. But you know what I'm saying? I'm not working for a radio station in a traditional sense. But the writers, you look at the NBA writers and the people that have votes, that vote on the MVP races, vote on the different postseason or regular season awards. The NBA's got to look at that. If the NBA is going to catch up to the times, they're going to do new things with their media deal, they're going to change the way that you consume the product, you've also got to catch up with the times when it comes to voting for awards, the times of newspaper writers. No disrespect to Jason Anderson, who I very much respect, who is in charge of the sports over at the Sacramento Bee and principally covers the Kings for the Sacramento Bee. He does great work, but I would guess if I asked Jason, the majority of his work gets out to people through digital platforms. Okay. So what I'm saying is the NBA, and I'm not going to make this a Kings thing. We had a credential conversation last week about this, and I gave you my thoughts. But the NBA's got to catch up with the voting too. There is a lot of people that are watching a lot of basketball and that are putting out a lot of content that is reaching more people than some of the people that are voting for these awards. How does the NBA find a mix between the traditional sense of respecting the writers, respecting the media's opinion as they should, but also respecting, I don't want to say the new media, but how do you incorporate new media into the old media when it comes to voting processes? Because if I had a vote for the MVP, this is the way I see it. What did Jokic do this year that was that much better than what he's done in his other MVP years? Here's the other thing I look at. How are the Nuggets without Jokic? What would the Nuggets be able to do without him on the floor? And I get he's on the floor most of the time. Still a very talented team without him. But then I look at Oklahoma City, right? Oklahoma City, Grant had them coming out. He had no idea they'd come out like this. He thought they would be successful. What's up, Alberto? We'll get to you in a second. But you get the number 1 seed, okay? SGA had the most games with 30 points or more. I believe he was right up there with Luca. And SGA gets to the line more than anybody else. And SGA makes everyone on his team better. Jokic does that too. I don't want to take that away from him. But to me, in the spirit of the MVP rule or the MVP trophy, it just screams SGA to me. It does. Does it to you guys? I think if you're going to have a changing of the guard, which Jerry Reynolds talked about on Tuesday, and it was so apropos, the fact that he said changing of the guards, because it's the guards that changed the NBA as we know it right now. Steph Curry changed 2 positions in the NBA without playing one of them, and that's the center position. Centers basically need to know how to make three-pointers now. So you've got that style of play, right? But now you look at the way Anthony Edwards is playing, and I get you guys are sick of me harping on him, and it sounds like I'm doing the next big thing, but he stepped out of a time machine in the 90s. Anthony Edwards would have fit in perfect in those days with Jordan and all them. But SGA, changing of the guard, right? I'm not saying Jokic is old school. He's certainly not, but I just don't. It felt like an old boys vote for him, for Jokic. I don't know if there's like these unwritten codes or whatever when it comes to having that vote, but I just don't know how. I don't know how SGA does not get the MVP. Dude, I appreciate that, MC. MC, I got your gear here, dude. I have got to get that to you. MC won a contest and he got some Mike Bibby autograph stuff coming to him. I will make a point to get that to you. I was going to try to give it to you in person, MC. That was the thing. So you and I will hook up privately, but I appreciate the kind words, man. I hope you are doing very well. Alberto hopping in on the conversation. The NBA is trying to market Jokic as the next face of basketball. However, they don't take into account that he has no personality, or he has the personality of a snail. Yeah, Jokic, you know what? He's professional. I mean, have you seen some of the videos about, his teammates trying to get Jokic onto the court for practice? He's watching stuff on horse races. He's big into horse racing. He has horses. And I don't hold that against him. I think it's great. Sabonis is able to separate basketball from family. And that's why this whole Netflix thing that's going to be coming out is going to be so interesting to see with Sabonis a part of it. And maybe, I don't know how much basketball is going to be a part of that. Maybe we get an inside look into some of the conflicts on this Kings team that the media didn't always hit on, or maybe the questions didn't get asked. But Jokic is a good face. He's just not, Mr. Personality. But SGA, he's not Mr. Personality either, but he does have funny commercials. So singing that Christina Aguilera one. Let's see. Hopefully you'll have an MVP vote within the next 5 years. We'll see. We will see, Alberto. Who knows where this road's going to take me, but I sure know I am loving the destination right now. I love being here with you guys Monday through Friday at 2 o'clock, Wednesdays, 2:30, because the little man keeps hopping back in. Jokic is Mikhail with better court vision. I think he's a little bit better than that. Finchy, I think Murray is just as important as the Joker to the Nuggets. Absolutely. He 100% is. So all good points. You know what? We've talked a lot of Kings basketball today. We've talked a lot about the current news. Let's wrap it up there. We'll keep it there. We'll do a shorter episode today. We're going to be recording again. If you didn't hear me tonight, for anybody familiar. Oh, here we go. Well, yeah, if so, the Lakers are idiots. Idiots. Idiots, idiots, idiots. Yes, the Kings Court has some pretty cool stuff that we give away. Really cool stuff. So, yeah. And then also we're going to be doing some Bennett gift cards coming up soon. So pay attention for those. Budenholzer, he should have never been fired. Giannis gets hurt the year after you win a championship and you fire the coach? What? The Lakers should have gone that way, in my opinion. It's either going to be JJ Redick or LeBron James. I'm staying on my spot firm. I think the Lakers should make LeBron a player coach. No reason. And here, if I'm Jeannie Buss, this is what I'm saying. LeBron, you're already a player coach. In fact, you're a player coach / GM. Actually, you're acting like a little girl by making all the moves behind the scenes and not taking responsibilities for the failures when you ask us to bring guys in and they don't work out, when you ask us to change coaches and they don't work out. I'm dead serious. LeBron James should be a player coach for the Los Angeles Lakers this next 2 years. They've already given him the keys to the franchise. We'll see if it catches any steam. I think it will. I know, you know what? Jim Rome talked about that. He kind of poked at that a couple days after I talked about it, not saying he listens to this, but to hear a national voice kind of have the same line of thinking. That made me think I was a little bit on the same track. Hey, thank you all so much for being here today. Tonight, I am recording. And by the way, 5 o'clock, Grant is going to be doing an open forum show. Make sure you come back for that. If you're not subscribed, if you don't like that, you can scan that QR code right there. We've got over 7,000 followers. So thank you to each and every one of you that are subscribed. And thank you to everybody that's been tuning in. At some point today, we have had 141 drop into the King's Court Live. So I appreciate it. I see names like MC, Alberto, Haunted Horse, James, I could go Finchy. I'm going to leave people out. I don't want to leave people out. Carrot. Here we go. Let's just do the rundown. Let's see. We got James El Cap, bang, bang, Baki, bang, bang, Raider Pando. There's a Raider in it.
I'm the boogeyman, and I'm coming to get you.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. I like the handle. Steely Beats, what's up? Bang! James back again. Baki, look at, I'm loving these. Thank you guys for all the comments. If I missed you, BJ Sal, what's up, dude? Bang! 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 Happy to have you. So we are recording tonight a very special episode of the King's Court. It's not going to be live. We will put that up on my podcast platform. So just so you know, all of the live shows go up on the King's Court. You can find it on Apple, and you can find it on Spotify. I think it's on Amazon too as well. And then also we do a morning shoot around every morning. We get you ready for the day, overnight news, set the table for this show. But also when we have special episodes, sometimes we'll do those live, and then sometimes I'll pre-record. In this case, we're going to pre-record. If any of you are Jim Rome fans, you will recognize this name. He's a good bud of mine. V in the Fee. He was in the Smack Off last year. V is a huge Lakers fan. In fact, this guy knows the Lakers inside and out. So we're not going to so much do the expert thing or, having somebody from the basketball realm on to talk. We're going to have V on, and here's why. He's a huge fan of the Lakers. I'm a big Kings fan. That's my investment, right? That's one of my investments with all of you. And we're going to talk about that rivalry. We're going to talk about the highlights, the lowlights. I want to get V's thoughts on how they perceive the Kings now. And I want to get an idea of what he thinks is next down there in LA. Are they going to be making any significant moves? What's the Bronny noise look like? So we're going to have a lot of fun on that episode. It's going to be a little bit of a crossover. So look for that. It's either going to drop tomorrow or that will drop Sunday. We did start this as well. We've got the QR code for Venmo donations to the channel. Should you feel so inclined to help us out at all, we would greatly appreciate it. But if not, your viewership, you guys chatting, you engaging with the show, that is more than enough. Anything we get goes back into the channel, goes back into getting guests and infrastructure and improving the King's Court, improving if you don't like that. Look at the jumps we made this season. We made some huge jumps this season, started taking calls. We've got some new fun stuff coming up as well. And then also, I had an awesome meeting with Nico Horning yesterday. You might have heard that name a few times from Grant. Nico Nico he's going to be going into his junior year at Syracuse. And he is in the broadcasting school at Syracuse. His dream is to do play-by-play, and he's got the look, he's got the mindset. He's coachable. I know Grant's been working with him, but Nico's done some minor league hockey. I know he's going to be doing some stuff with the River Cats over this summer. He's also today, I think he's actually the Savannah Bananas or here in Sacramento. I would love to see the Savannah Bananas. I love what they do. My son would think that would be a blast. But anyways, a reason I brought up Nico is just because of this. We might be getting some extra baseball content from Nico this summer. We'll see. You'll probably see him pop up at some point here on the King's Court, or if you don't like that, Nico has got a big future ahead of him. So it's going to be really fun with the A's getting ready to come to Sacramento. And it really just, how are those two teams going to kind of work things out? Who gets the nod? Who gets the tip? Is it going to be the tip of the cap, I should say? The A's would be my guess, but you are sharing the ballpark. So, and how's that going to work for the fans? I mean, I could totally see attendance for the River Cats completely falling off because of the A's. But are the A's going to outprice people from the market? You could see that coming. I don't know, because when you have the Red Sox coming to town, when you've got the New York Yankees coming to town, Sacramento is actually a fairly easy place to get to. You got the international airport, you got Tahoe, 2 hours from you. You got San Francisco 2 hours from you. You got Napa, I don't know, an hour 15 from here. So Sacramento is kind of that central hub. So I could see Sacramento becoming a destination spot, kind of like the A's were hoping Vegas would become, for other teams' fans coming to Sacramento to watch their team play. And here's why. Look at how many fans travel to spring training games, right? And those are smaller, more intimate ballparks. And that's what it's all about. It's being closer to the action. It's a different game. Any of you that have, I love the Bananas too. I absolutely love them. Yes, it does. The comments help feed it. Thank you, MC, for throwing that out. Yeah, dude, JR, did you guys hear Jim today? That wasn't very nice what he had to say about me. It kind of made me feel bad. I'm not going to go into it. You can go listen to the Jim Rome show. I think it was hour 2. Yeah, that wasn't very nice of him. But big JR, the Bananas are awesome. When I had both of my hip surgeries, so I went through, back, no doubt. In fact, one of the Bananas, their play-by-play guy, or their color guy, he also went to Syracuse Broadcasting School. So Nico, by the way, Nico is going to be interning with NBC this summer as well for the Summer Olympics. Think about that. Kid's doing big things. So hopefully you'll see him pop up from time to time. But I had a wonderful, wonderful lunch with him down at, or breakfast, 3-hour breakfast at Tower Cafe yesterday. But yes, getting back to that, the Bananas, when I had both of my hip surgeries, I had never heard of the Bananas. And Stockton, what's up, dude? Patrick, I got a new sound drop for you. Patrick, how rare is the double bang? You almost never get the double bang from Mike Breen. That was on a Dante 3 too. It wasn't this postseason, but I found it online. Anyways, Stockton is about 40 minutes from Sacramento. 30 minutes. Let's see. 30 minutes from Elk Grove. Yeah, about 30 minutes for me to get to the arena when I'm covering the Stockton Kings. Oh yeah, no doubt, brother. Yeah, no doubt, dude. Dude, you know what? It's funny because I'm joking around, MC. Anything Jim does, somehow I've found a way on that show. I guess I'm like the jungle rodeo clown. I somehow got put in that position. And so now if I don't do the jungle rodeo clown stuff and I just be Ryan, it doesn't work. And he kind of pokes at the bear a little bit, tries to bring it out of me. But it's funny. It's all in good fun. It's never, never bad. Jim has been absolutely awesome to me. Go back and listen to the deposition of Ryan Sacktown. That's everything you need to know about my why. Also, kind of give you some context. In fact, got that right back there. There's Jimmy. I got to sit down and do 5 minutes with him when he was here in Sacramento. Yeah, it's pretty cool sound drop, huh, Patrick? Okay, I want to end on this banana story. If anybody else is going to be going tonight, have fun. Get your kids out there. They do it the right way. I bet it's a sellout. It's got to be a sellout. But getting back to it, I had never seen them. I didn't know their story. I didn't know what it was. It came up on my YouTube feed, and I was spending enough time on the couch or in a recliner because I had 2 hips replaced. Couldn't move around too much. And I started watching it and I loved it. And this is what was so surprising to me, MC. My group of friends, my really, really good group of friends. I was so excited to share it with them. I'm like, oh my gosh, have you guys seen the Savannah Bananas? Like, they've got all these different rules and they do these goofy things and they do backflips when they catch, fly balls in the outfield. They're like, I was the dumb one. They're like, you just saw the bananas for the first time? Really? Really? And some of them are clones. So then it goes off into clone stuff. Oh, by the way, make sure you don't look anybody in the eye when you eat a banana. You know what I'm saying? So I really loved what I watched. Had I known they were going to be here, I probably would have tried to take my son, even though my son likes nothing about sports, which is fine. He's a Pokemon guy, and I will respect that. Rhino through that forest. Who messes with a rhino? Right. And then that's the weird thing with the gym stuff, because they call me Rhino, but you're not allowed to gloss. So if I call myself Rhino, then I get in trouble. But whatever. Yes, I love their version of baseball as well. Hey, thank you all so much. Let's wrap up. MC, it's great to see you in the chat. Haven't seen you there in a little bit. We will be back tomorrow, wrapping up the week on the King's Court live at 2 p.m. Make sure you look for the shoot around tomorrow morning. Maybe I'll surprise you with that V and the Fee audio, that podcast we're going to do tonight. And Grant, 5 o'clock tonight, right here on If You Don't Like That, open forum, taking your calls, talking about whatever you want to talk about. Tedora, take us home.
Holy moly, Jimbaboli.
In tribute to the great Jerry Reynolds, who joins us almost every Tuesday here on the King's Court Live. So make sure you don't miss that. Go Kings, light the beam. Court is dismissed.